got Bob, Tony, Peter,
Brendan,
Cliff, Dave, Fred,
Sheila, which way we go?
yeah, Michael, Jane, Gilbert,
Lockie.
Lockie, Paula,
Anita.
Ross,
Helen,
Dean,
Dean,
Jason.
and Jason. And we're gonna just. Oh, okay. I'm just gonna. Sorry. Untangle it a little bit. Okay, thank you. So for the people who are online with us, Bob just made an announcement that he doesn't want to watch a video of himself from 20 years ago, like we did last week, and he wants me to do the introduction. So that's what we stuck with. So roughly, the way he always starts it, and I find it the most beautiful way of really pointing back to the true nature. You are already that. Or that you already are, that you know that you are. The awareness of presence is what we're talking about. This is called natural state. Some people have some fangled ideas and the fun words like awakening or enlightenment. And those words have their place too in appropriate context. But really for our purposes, natural state is the most accessible, easy way of pointing back to that basic screen of awareness. Everyone is present, everyone is aware, everyone knows about the presence awareness or awareness of presence, and that's really what it goes down to. So noticing, you can't notice the presence awareness as a thing, as an object. It is the pure subjectivity that it is. So we can look at what is not awareness of presence. The content of the awareness of presence is what we discard. And there is the ancient method called neti-neti, which basically discards everything that you can be aware, you can perceive or conceive, you can think of, you can objectify. And that is a content that is not the presence awareness itself. So the body is obviously content. It appears in the awareness. It's an object. So you are aware of your body, therefore you're not your body. The thoughts are also appearing in the consciousness. So you are aware of the thoughts, you're not your thoughts. There is awareness of thinking. There is awareness even prior to thinking, so that the thinking could be notified. Same with emotions. Same with all sorts of contexts and stories that we may have about our life or our relationships. Those are all appearance, those are all mind-made, imagination. They're beautiful, they're mind-blowing. We can see a beautiful big context of history or geography or politics. And they elaborated pictures made of 10,000 things. Really, they are beautiful expressions of that essence, of that one life. But they still a content of the awareness. Awareness is prior to all those stories and dramas. As much as we can acknowledge them and we can love them, we can be free from them. So the story that says I am not good enough is just a story, it's not the truth. The stories that my country is going down, again, is just a story, it's not the truth. So or someone hates me or doesn't like me or whatever. So questioning the content and seeing that the content is completely dependent on presence of awareness, and seeing that that presence of awareness is first, and realizing that if the content is absent, the presence of awareness is still there. And that boils down in Bob's beautiful quote, which is the title of a book that Gilbert put together. What is wrong with right now if I don't think about it? When there is no thought for a moment, even for a microsecond, there is still aliveness going on. There is still presence of awareness. And Bob says it beautifully, you didn't fall apart, did you? The seeing was still happening. Feeling, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, with the thought absent or the content absent, the functioning is still there. So you are prior to the content, you are the pure functioning. So that is clear and obvious, that you couldn't be the body or the mind or the story. The story couldn't be true either, because the truth is that which never changes. So even if there is a story, I am old, or I have cancer, or I am ugly, that is the story that could change. It hasn't been there before you were born, so it couldn't be true. It hasn't been there probably this morning, so it couldn't be true. The truth or reality is what we're talking about, and the truth is that which is eternal, beginningless, endless, changeless. Yes, so that truth is accessible, is undeniable right in this moment. No one can deny the existence, and as far as direct experience is concerned, that existence have never stopped. It is eternal in the direct experience of this moment, which is the only moment that ever is. The existence is eternal. We could conceptualize the time before the body was born. The existence wasn't experienced. But what is it? That's the concept. That's the image, imagination. The whole past is imagination. Bringing back the idea of non-existence of the body is bringing up the idea. It is not what is directly experienced in this moment. Bringing up the idea of body being dead or non-existent is imaginations bringing back the idea. In the direct experience, existence, being, or presence awareness is eternal. That's the truth. And then we have some concepts spilled out in the books of pointers of transcending being and not being, or transcending I am and not I am. Absolutely. On the conceptual level, that can be discussed forever and ever. But when the concepts are absent, even the idea of transcending is also absent. And that's the freedom. And that freedom is never not here. The freedom from believing the conceptualization, the thinking. The freedom from needing to have something different or something more than this moment. Or comparing, freedom from comparing your words with some saints or sages that said that, oh, they are prior to I am, or after I am, or before I am. The freedom from wanting something different than what is. That is right here. If the thinking relaxes and it drops away into that eternity of now, into that mystery of existence that doesn't have a concept of anything different than what is. And from that perspective, looking at what is as a fresh new expression or appearance is pure joy. Life gets easy. And of course, it doesn't mean that the mind with its functions, beautiful functions of making sense of reality, will not come and offer another meaning. It will. But taking on that meaning becomes an option. It doesn't have to be blindly believed whatever the mind says. Once the root of existence is found and the relaxation into that root or source of existence is embodied. And that's the freedom and joy. And that is available for anyone who dares and cares to look deeper. Because it is enough to just see and follow those pointers. Like one of Bob's beautiful ways of investigation is to see whether you are doing the seeing, or is the seeing just happening. And now, as you realize that seeing is spontaneously happening, no one is doing it, you will see how mind comes into the picture and offers the interpretation. This is I am seeing you. This is what is happening. But that's not the truth. That's the interpretation. That's the overlay, mind-made interpretation. The truth is singular. Seeing is happening. The interpretation says, I do the seeing. There is me and there is a seen. And within that seeing, or there is a process between the me and the seen, me and you, that is happening. That is what the mind does. And that is a beautiful function that makes the whole manifestation so colorful and so creative and so infinitely amazing. The duality. Having the idea of me wanting to or being able to change the world, and following the ambitions and the goals, setting goals, and all that narrative that brings motivation and demotivation as well. It's a fantastic function, dividing singular existence, singular happening into the duality of me the doer and the deed, of me the seer and what is seen, me the hearer and what is heard. But that one creates the bondage also, because that one, right from the beginning of believing I am the seer, I'm the hearer, I'm the thinker, it solidifies the sense of I being separated from the seeing or from the hearing or from what is seen and what is heard. And that sense of separation, in majority of cases, if you look at the world, who do not really need any spiritual investigation, is just fine. It's just practical. People live and get old and die and focus their attention into whatever's in front of them. If they are semi-functional and they don't suffer too much, it's just good enough. But for those who are a little bit more bashed by life, or perhaps a little bit more sensitive, or a little bit more vulnerable, that suffering becomes unbearable. And that suffering brings people to investigation, to looking into a possibility of seeing world in a different way, experiencing life in a different way. And the separation, the pain of separation, becomes so overwhelming. Then the people start entertaining the ideas that maybe that's just a nightmare. Maybe that's not the case. And if we look at the natural world, it seems like this way of psychological suffering is only a human thing. We don't see psychologically suffering animals. We can see the behavior changing. We can project or anthropomorphize that, dog gets angry or cat gets revenge or something. But that's just anthropomorphism. Animals are learning from experiences just like we do, but they don't have symbolic language to create the stories. So life gets much, much simpler. If we just see how the conceptual stories, how the psychological suffering is just the overlay of natural functioning, and we can see that psychological suffering is optional, we can live the life as in nature. It doesn't mean the life will be all rosy and pleasant. The old age, sickness and death and all the experiences that happen within the dream will still be happening, because that human dream, it will last as long as it does. And the dreams at night are no different. The pain and pleasure, the day and the night and the winter and the summer and everything that is the content. But the attachment and the resistance to this content will be severed, will lessen. Life will become much, much, much more gracious and easier. And being aware of the fact that this is a dream, the body is a dream, the body is disappearing every night when you go to sleep, and another body appears. The attachment to the body also can break down, can ease off. And Bob sometimes quotes the Bible, talking about, I think it was St. Paul, dying daily, dying every night, dying every moment, to that sense of separation, to that sense of imagined self that does the seeing. Even though if you look, of course, you wouldn't know how to do the seeing or how to manifest or create a thought. Nobody knows that. This is spontaneous functioning. And there is nothing that is not spontaneous functioning, including the capacity of the mind to take credit for everything that happens. Even that is spontaneous functioning. Even to say, I am thinking that, or I am right, or I am wrong, this is my fault, or this is my credit, even that is part of spontaneous functioning. This is the part of the software of that amazing biocomputer. So seeing it as mechanical happening, seeing that as part of similar part to a sweating or digestion or salivating, just a part of that vehicle, of that biocomputer, you are not bound by it anymore. You can be free from that. Another way that Bob offers to investigate, what is that me? Who is that me? If there is something that is painful and I'm resenting it, and there is that sense of resentment and the feeling that, oh, there is a me, the me is a contraction, the me is a painful little dwarf sitting somewhere inside. Can I put the finger on that me? Can I actually locate that me? Oh, if it is a heartbreak and a very, very strong sense of upset, it might sit in the heart for a moment. Most of the time, if it is more kind of head-based, anger type of a feeling, it may sit somewhere behind the eyes. But who is locating it right now? And that one who is locating it is obviously free from it. So if you see that the contraction happens in the body, and you believe that this is the I, well, who is it that believes this is the I? And where is the locating happening from? If the I is here, how do I know that? Where am I looking from? This will show you that contraction is just a contraction. It's the appearance in the field of awareness. This is not who I am. Because when the contraction is absent, I still am here. I am prior to the contraction. People often say, oh, but this is the strong sense of me. Well, you can call it me. That's not a problem. You can call it me, you can call it contraction, you can call it pain, you can call it heartache. But it is still happening within the field of awareness. So it is still a passing phenomena. It is not what you are or who you are. There are chairs there. No. Okay, so we are just doing a quick introduction, and then we're going to have a group discussion and with questions and everything. So once you look again, you look from the perspective of life, you have completely different take on what is happening and why is it happening. If I look from the perspective of limited I, I'm a victim. Why don't I look better? Why don't I have better parents? Why don't I have more money? Or what is going to happen to me when I retire? What is happen if I'm got bullied? When I lose the job, my future is uncertain. That's terrible, that's a hell. But looking from the perspective of life, and life is the one force or one energy, Bob sometimes calls it intelligence energy, because it shows incredible intelligence in the way it creates all the patterns and shapes and forms. If you look at the energy, which I think right now even science agrees that energy is all there is. Energy, potential energy or actualized energy. Energy as a potential, it is and it isn't. And energy in motion is everything, including matter. Matter is energy, mc square, E equals mc square. It is still energy. Everything is energy. It's a vibration. It's a different frequency of vibration to create the sound. Different frequency of vibration to create X-ray or radiation that just knocked Bob about a little bit. or words, sounds, light, visible light, invisible light, matter, it's all energy. So if we look from that perspective, but that energy is intelligent. Some people actually, Twist Bob speaks about intelligence energy because it isn't a personal thing, but at the same time there is an intelligence in the energy. Energy is intelligent in a way. In a way it appears. In a way it appears as a human body. What a great intelligence in creating that human body, including human brain, capable of, I don't know, how 100 trillions of neurons or whatever, and capable of creating complex images, capable of creating things almost as complex as its own structure. So there is an intelligence. In a way, that energy created the human body, created every blade of grass, every tree, every building using the human capacity, human creativity. But from the perspective of life, life is experiencing and expressing itself. And this is another beautiful book that Gilbert put together. Thank you, Gilbert, for all that you did early years with the books. You know, one essence, experiencing, appearing, experiencing, and expressing as everything. One essence, that one life, experiencing itself. One life, as that life, experiencing itself through your eyes. That life is looking out of your eyes. That life is moving your body. That life is beating your heart. That life is giving you thoughts. And of course, because everything is that life, every thought is completely related to the situation in which the body finds itself. And to the environment, because they are not separate. They are all one. The environment, the body, everything is just that one life. Heyman, could you get the door, please? Or Tony, or further. Thank you. Have another couple of chairs there. Tony is sitting here. There in the corner? No? Ah, all right. Okay. Yeah, so letting the life see, letting the life look out of your eyes. Get out of the way and let life see. Let life hear. Let life experience whatever it is to be experienced. Even if the experience is a fatigue or is pain, even if the experience is resistance, just be that presence for life to fully experience every moment as it is. And now, from the life's perspective, everything is clear. Is clear and obvious why there are people who are poor and rich. There are people who suffer, who are in pain, and there are people who are, and not just people. They are ants, they are viruses, they are bacteria, they are galaxies, they are planets. All of them are ways for that life to experience and express itself. And that you are, that life you are. You can honor the vehicle through which you are experiencing yourself, rather than compare it or complain about it. Because that vehicle is temporary, it's constantly changing. Bob sometimes compares and this is another line of investigation. If you see in your language that you say, my body, my car, my house, my coat, you can see this is something that you are using, just like the house, just like the car, just like the coat. So that temporary vehicle, that is like a home. You could just experience it like a vehicle, like a home, like a cart, like a house. And let life see. Not that you have any choice in that matter, because life is going to do it anyway. The seeming choice, because there isn't any choice, there is no one there is no entity who can now decide, okay, I will be investigating and I will be free. There is no I that could possibly get free. Investigation opens up or wakes up in yourself spontaneously, often through resonance. And that's why we have this group investigations. That's why we offer the frequency of resonation. For the investigation to wake up spontaneously, it is also life doing it. It is no person doing anything, because the person is imagination. Person is a fiction, like Santa Claus is a fiction. So when that resonation happens, and that looking happens, and you look what is looking, and you find the vastness of nothingness, and yet the looking still happens, you're faced with the mystery, in which mystery that huge, in which that I, that imagined self, just shrink into nothing. But the existence is still there. And the being, the presence is still there. So coming back to that presence and looking from there and living from that point. And letting every moment to be as full and as complete as it is. That's the invitation. And because it is a group investigation, we invite everyone to share in the investigation. And bring the things, mainly the things that do resonate, and offer. If it resonates in your heart, you also offer that resonance to the group. And it's not you, because no one is here. There's no self, even if you believe there is a self. It's just a belief, it's just an imagination. It's only that one life speaking, that one life expressing itself. It may express through the belief, it may express clearly, but if something resonates and touches your heart, even if the wording is not exactly correct, it may bring a resonation, and it may respond in other vehicle, in other instrument. And nothing is ever wrong in the way life experiences and expresses. Does anyone would like to share what resonates? What helps? Helen?
I find, thank you for that, Kat.
Thank you.
And when you speak from presence, presence responds to presence. And with that, a stillness emanates. And it's very powerful today. Thank you.
That's home, isn't it? Home you never left.
Presence wouldn't be speaking. Through presence, if it was coming through that carpet, I know it. People want to put that away.
And again, nobody in the world does the spiel the way, the most beautiful and clear way as you do. So.
Pretty good though, Kat.
Thank you. Anyone?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kat. Yeah, I really felt it too. I had a bit of a tear there at one point when you were sharing, just with that presence. And it's interesting, and I'm just curious, like, sometimes it seems like, you know, it's easy, and it's never believe the mind, whatever it says. But I was aware this morning how tricky it is. Because I like to get up in the morning and just have, like, quiet, have a cup of tea, 3 or 4 cups of tea, just sit out the back, look at nature. And Sandra's away at the moment, so she rang up with a technical problem with the computer. She had to work stuff out. And my immediate reaction is frustration. And and I saw, because my normal routine of peace is being interrupted. And then I noticed, like, the thoughts come because, like, it's simple, a simple thing to fix. So I explain how to fix it, and it doesn't work, and then we end up sending emails back and forward, and like each time I'm thinking, oh no, I see that thought, I see it's trying to grab me, it's trying to make me frustrated and annoyed. And then I realised how much how often I just say no, no, no. Like the computer shouldn't do this, it shouldn't do that, shouldn't do that. No, 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 no. There's all these no's. But then I just started laughing at them. I mean, but I'd never been so clear to me how frequent they were, like the no's, just to the tiniest little things that are impossible to change. It's here. It's it. This is it.
Yes.
There's nothing else. This is reality. Doesn't matter what I feel, what I say, what I do. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of saying no? It just builds pain and suffering for me.
Yeah.
But it was just beautiful to see. Like that is just constant. Like so many of them. Like just one after the other. And the whole universe is doing it deliberately because the computer's doing things it shouldn't do. Like that should just not happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's deliberately provoking.
Your computer has a personal will as well.
Yeah.
So does mine.
Yeah, I just thought I'd share that and don't give up. Like because I mean, it seems to be an ongoing, constant thing. It seems like you get to that point, and then the universe comes out and pokes some more buttons. It doesn't seem to matter where you get to; it keeps poking.
Yep.
Yeah, the habit of referring everything to me is really what's going on. And that habit, it's not a doing by anyone. The me is a fiction, so it can't accept or reject anything. It can't do anything. It can't hear, see, think. It's just a fiction. And basically, I think what seems to be needed is the recognition that cognition, naked cognition, is spontaneously happening. And imagination, the difference between naked cognition and imagination needs to be recognised, because it's through imagination that we seemingly create problems for the me, by the me, blah, 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 endless. So psychological suffering depends upon a fixation on the self-image called me, because if there's no fixation on me, there's no psychological suffering. So really, that's a key point. You know, if there's psychological suffering going on, investigate the me. See if you can find anything with any substance or independent nature that you can say, this is what I am. And you won't find it because it's a fiction. But it can't, there's no value in somebody telling you that. You know, somebody's insight is completely useless. We have to see it for ourselves. So insight is seemingly the key that transforms our lives. And that applies to so-called mental illness. Somebody who has so-called mental illness, they have almost no insight into what's going on for them. And so, yeah, this referencing the me or the self-image is really the problem, but it doesn't belong to anyone. It's not really a problem, but it seems to be a problem for me. But if you know that the me is a fiction, and when you see that the me is not something true in yourself, you also see that it's not true in anyone else, because it's the same illusion. Does anyone want to add something?
Beautiful.
I'll say a few things. Thanks, Kat. I really enjoyed the talk, the spiel. But what Michael said, I think, is very valuable as well, because in seeing what was going on in the mind allows you to be free of it. And anything can arise spontaneously, and it's not like then, okay, I haven't got it now, and I saw something, but now I'm back in the thick of it, because that's just a belief in itself as well, isn't it? And then it can just spiral into more conflict, because there's the resistance coming up. Oh, I'm not that, which is just an idea in itself. So it's actually a valuable insight, all these things that we think are, or label again as negative, it's an insight into how the mind operates out of conditioning and habit. And in a way, it's really freeing to actually see that and face that. So actually, everything's an opportunity to be free of the seeming bondage of mind, and that's all it is. And I think the value of coming together like this is, invaluable in a sense, because, we really have the opportunity to open up and share all these things which happen to everybody, because we all have that same mechanism of mind and the body. And so, we can all relate to what everybody else is going through, because we're cut of the one cloth. Just having this opportunity to see through all those things which, in our day-to-day life, everybody is reinforcing the idea of being separate, and this incredible manifestation which is so intelligent when you look at it. The manifestation is amazing appearance. It's so convincing that it's very convincing that everything is solid and separate. What an amazing appearance that is. It's truly an intelligent vibration, to put a label on it. But once you kind of, as you said, Kat, you just have that opportunity to look a little bit deeper, and you come to see what's actually going on, not what appears or is imagined to be going on. And all those truths that seem sort of so lofty are just what actually is happening, or what the actuality of our lives or life is. So it's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. That was great. Really good to listen to you and think about those things that you talk about. And the me is a fiction, and the more we see that this self-identification is a problem, the freer we become in possibilities and thinking and getting out of patterns. But the whole thing about it's very complex, because it's just talking about patterns. There are patterns of thinking and conditioning, but nobody who has the conditioning, like the conditioning isn't personal, yet there are things like phenomena like one pattern falling in love with another pattern and then saying, I like that about that pattern over there and so on, so, but I don't like that. And those ideas seem to those ideas seem to have persistence, and they come up and we refer to them in the mind. Like my kitchen table is a concept at the moment too, but when I'm there in front of it, it seems to have form and reality and memory about it. So while it's a fiction, there's something there to be examined too.
Yes.
Are you trying to have a relationship with your kitchen table?
A certain kind of love.
Let's go on.
She's got 4 legs to look at.
4 legs to a cat?
Kitchen table.
Yeah.
Something about 4 legs.
To look at. Come on, get serious. Come on.
Bob talks about these things coming up in mind and disappearing like the what they call those planes that go through the air and they let out a
Trails.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
In in one of those books on Mahayana Buddhism, they talk about reflexive release from the identification. And what's found here recently is just that the same reaction comes up, the immediate reaction to my peace being interrupted or my view being rejected. And there'll be some eruption of anger. But just as quickly, it can just sort of immediately that's noticed, poof, it goes. So it's quite absurd to watch the immediate reaction, and then the energy's gone. What can you do? You can't. That vanishes like the smoke from a plane. It's quite comical.
I was just in regards to that, I was just driving here. I was in my thoughts and thinking about all these sort of, I don't know, I was in not a great space, and then I saw this woman walking a dog, and the dog was just going around in circles having a wonderful time, and my thoughts just completely disappeared, and I was just there. So what happened to that other illusion, you know, that I was going through? So it just vanished like that. It was just like, it's just, yeah, so it just vanishes.
In the joy that you were in that
Yeah,
moment.
in the joy, yeah.
Yes. Mm.
Michael?
Yes.
Gilbert? Actually, Ross? You've all been talking about a similar thing that I've been mulling just now, and that is divine will versus personal will, and how it interacts with what you said, and with what you said. Because divine will is what's happening, right? So it's all peace, love and mung beans. Therefore, when the personal will wants something different, that's where the trouble is.
When you're in the divine will, you're choiceless.
Yeah. So God only knows one word, eh? Yes. Yes. And when we said we want a choice, he says, oh, well, that's two things. You can have that. Hey?
The microphone doesn't seem to be working.
No, it is for people who are online.
Anyway, that was... It all stalled. It didn't go anywhere.
Ben's turn.
Gilbert.
We put these labels on things. You know, the mind can only divide itself.
Yeah.
You know, we say this is divine or this is ordinary. I think in the Dog Chen teaching, there's a passage that says there's no difference between a Buddha and an ordinary being.
Yeah.
And to read that, if you've got beliefs about all this division, it's like, what? No, there has to be a difference, you know, because the whole thing about getting enlightened depends on a difference between an ordinary being and a Buddha. And I want to be a Buddha, whatever. But who is that? That's the mind dividing into good and bad, or divine and sinner and sin and all the rest of it. So, and in essence, without a single word, what am I? Because language was learned at a very young age, but we existed before the language was learned. You know, I've got a grandson, 7 months old, and it's a joy to be with him because he's so open, and he's happy most of the time, and he's got no concepts. And also the cat, one of the cats, I was here a few months ago, and the cat was sitting in front of me on the table, and he's looking the other way, and I'm looking into his eyes, and the thoughts come up, oh, I wonder what he's thinking, you know. You know, this is anthropomorphizing, which is so common And even between so-called two people, there's this projection going on. You know, what are they thinking? Do they like me? Do they what? You know, just projecting this mental activity onto another person, so-called person. But it's all my stuff, you know. And is it really my stuff? And is it conditioning and all the rest of it? So the mind can only divide itself, and it does it through words. And that's a very significant thing to recognise, and to be quiet and wordless and silent seems to be almost impossible, but it's not. You can sit quietly, and the beingness is there, the functioning is there, but it's not claimed by any entity. It just is, and there's no division between the being here and the being there. It's one being, which includes everything. And I could go on and on, but I won't. Anyone else?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for saying that. Actually, I was thinking how to nicely bring everything to one. You know, the divine will and the personal will is one will that is expressing and experiencing itself as clear seeing or as the seeing filtered by the personality. And I think that's what you meant, Jason, didn't it? You know, that when the will is filtered through personality, it's kind of further away from the... But it's still one.
I'm stuck in one of those, what do they call them? Koans.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So if you're grumpy, you're not aligned with divine will, because divine will doesn't give a bleep, because it only says yes.
If you believe that there is a you who is annoyed, yes, then that believed in entity is suffering. But this is not who you are. You are the space in which the believed in imagined you is resisting the reality. So ultimately nothing has ever happened. But in the experience, it's not happening. The you, the I, the separate me hasn't happened. It doesn't exist. It can't. But it is imagined, just like Santa Claus couldn't go through the funnel in Norway because it doesn't exist. But when you think about it, when you imagine it, when you believe it, well, yeah, the gift is here. That's the proof. He's been through the funnel. No, he hasn't. It's only one. But that one, and I like the analogy of seeing that one energy, expressing, experiencing as everything. So that one energy channeled through that imagined body, because you can't experience the body if you don't think about it, if you don't have an image of the body. You just experience sensations. So the body only exists when you conceptualize the body. But even for the sake of an analogy, if you conceptualize the body and now there is a life, and that seems like two, the dead body and the life essence. But it is only for the sake of analogy. Now that life essence or that electricity going through that globe or through that body expresses itself as the seeing, one frequency, hearing, another frequency, taking credit mind, meaning-making mind, relating mind. This is just another spectrum of experiencing that one energy. The divine will filters through the personality pattern, which is being collected over imagined time, and solidified as I am whatever, achiever, or I am a healer, or I am a male, or whatever, filtered through that set of concepts, suddenly has a completely different sort of a frequency, different vibration, different color. But it is still the same electricity, the same life, the same energy. It's not electricity, of course, it's the life essence. So ultimately it is one, but the more it is filtered, the further away it seemingly moves from the source, because there is no further away, even that is imagined. But then it kind of appears like, like the light put through the crystal, and suddenly it becomes colors. There are no colors, but you experience the colors. It feels like there are colors. Or Bob's metaphor about blue sea or blue sky. There is no color in the water, there is no color in the sky, but we experience the color. So the experience of me being stuck in resistance because absolute doesn't give a bleep, but I do. That's the same energy filtered through that crystal and showing up as this particular color. But it is also just an appearance. It is just a smoke and mirror, just a rainbow. It's nothing there. And that is when Gilbert was actually bringing back, if that happens, what a wonderful investigation to go and try and find it. See if there really is anything that stands of its own, anything that you could point, grasp, anything that you could actually, because if you can, that's not a problem. That's even more exciting. If you can find the me, who is the one who found it? Who found it? Obviously there wasn't a me that found the me. The me is an object now. So you are the one that found it. The object. You are the subjectivity. You always subjectivity. And in the experience, oh goodness, believe me, I'm having some perimenopausal mood swings. Sometimes my mood swings like 20 times a day. It's incredible. Incredible. One moment I'm singing a Polish shanty song, and another moment there is a, that irritability like Michael with the computer. And I find it absolutely mind-blowing, fascinating. But this is not me. I am not having the mood swings. I am the presence in which those responses or reactions are appearing. And they, if anything, they're fascinating. I can't even be annoyed with that because that would be just another mood appearing. But it surely feels like, who was it? Anita was saying, or Catherine, you were saying, is so brilliantly convincing. So absolutely beautifully convincing. It's not like a bad TV show where you can see the actors are overacting or underacting. No, it's brilliant. It's absolutely superb, supreme. Life fools itself into that incredible show completely, to the point that it has to sit and look to find itself back again, because it's so convinced that it is that, point in consciousness, isolated and separate. But there is no duality. It appears to be, because without the appearance of duality, me and the other, winter and summer, there would be nothing. If everything is painted white, white color disappears together with everything that has been painted. A duality, the appearance, the experience is only possible because of the pairs of opposites: resistance, attraction, pain, pleasure. But yeah, the divine will and the personal will are one. It's just that...
But for most humans, they're not aligned, are they? That's the rub.
That's right. That's right.
When you're looking at and finding the reference point to make that joke about most humans, that's nonsense. Yeah. How arrogant and individual.
You have to say it out loud again, please.
Where are you measuring it from? How can you make a judgment about most humans? It's nonsense.
Are most humans awake, are they?
Well, are you awake? Are you unaware? Are you unaware right now, as Bob questions?
He's just saying that most people believe themselves to be separate. That's all, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
well,
true. That's all he's saying.
It's no good going there because...
No, but they will have the belief.
Yeah.
As you were talking about being grumpy, it's not a singular thing, is it? It's a universal pattern, like grumpy was one of the 7 dwarves. So it's been around for a while, and so you don't own that. But the idea I'm grumpy is a memory, is something that's stored in memory. Talking about computers, I get really frustrated with computers, and I give it to my son, and he's got it solved in 5 seconds, and I've been fussing around with it for a couple of hours, and then I get grumpy about, oh God, I have to do this on the computer. I've got to download this app or whatever, And to me it seems like a great chore and something I don't want to do. But if I had to do it, I'd do it, I suppose. But that idea that I can't do it is something that's, there's no me doing it, of course, but it's a pattern thing, and it's stored somewhere in memory, and it comes up when the computer starts playing up or it's not doing what I want to do. And all those so-called, grumpy or whatever the other defects of character you don't like or something, they're not just yours, they're universal things that everyone has. And we claim ownership of them and try to get rid of them or whatever goes on.
And they're really part of that beautiful survival mechanism of the mind, where that whole machinery is designed to make the life of that body-mind whole thing, the experiencing, as smooth as possible. So if it objects to something, it objects to it because its primary role is to supply survival and smoothness of navigation, meaning as much pleasure as possible, as much safety as possible. And of course, the equipment playing against you doesn't supply much pleasure. So the objection comes up. But that objection from the mind, if you look at the motivation of that objection, gosh, how loving, how beautiful. The mind gets grumpy or angry. Of course, it wants Cliff to have only pleasure and joy and safety. How sweet.
I'm with you on that, Kat.
That is the way I look at it now, because it doesn't spare that cat person as well. But it is sweet. I can see it in Bob as well, he's especially after all those treatments, there is a lot of objecting, even to, I try to feed him, and it's constantly too much.
That's unusual for you, Bob.
It is unusual.
As a characteristic.
It is very, very, very unusual. Bob used to be a glutton and a guts, and now he
That was just a couple of days ago.
Please.
Just
Get
That's
it out.
okay. So what I've been noticing lately is that in awareness, itself, I'm aware that the body is in awareness. I'm aware that the mind is in awareness. And the seeing is happening without a thought. The hearing is happening without a thought. And I guess in that awareness, then you say, like, what is not? So if I'm aware that my body is in awareness, and I'm aware of when that I thought comes about, that can't be me. And I've also been aware that everything works in the opposite. So like left, right, up, down, ground, sky. If I look into the distance, if I see the moon, how do I know it's far away? I've been asking questions like that and really been observing what it means to be aware. So thank you.
Beautiful.
I found, I won't say I found, awareness is not something you do. Awareness is what you are.
Yes. Beautiful. This speaker. Yeah.
Just thinking about life. And, that was great, actually. Thank you for that sharing. Wonderful. Cat, beautiful today. Thinking about life, is there different types of life? If there was, then someone like Gilbert would be of lesser value than Ross, for example. He's small. But But there isn't, is there? You know? Life is full no matter what, even the slightest bacterium. You know? Is there any greater value in the bacteria than there is in a human being? That's a good question to ask, I think. There isn't truly, because what we're looking at and what we're dealing with is life in its totality. And it's unlimited, isn't it? Because it's all the same in all of us, no matter how different we are. We're dealing with this huge thing, the absolute condition of life. Even on in my last day, when I'm, grasping for my last breath, that will still be an expression of life. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And even when the body starts decomposing, it's the same expression of life. I mean, it's a different expression, but the same life. Yeah. And we have a couple of comments here. Jyoti says, a beautiful spiel. And Mitra, morning everyone. Thank you, Kat and Bob. And Jeff says, it's good to hear you, and great spiel and blessing. This is from Tazi and Zanti. And Tazi says, the false identity is an image of the body identified with name. Look at your driver's license. Is that who you are? Great point. Yeah, thank you. And that's it.
Just some of the comments that have been made has reminded me of things that I've been contemplating now for a little over a month, and that is that in many of the teachings across the spectrum, there's these terms called the Brahma Viharas, which is the 4 divine abodes, and they are equanimity, joy, and including rapturous joy, compassion, and loving kindness. And if those 4 are not increasing and permeating your experience, then you're not living in presence or in that non-dual state, because they are the natural dualistic expression of the state that is. And it's only our delusion and clinging to any sense of self that stops those from always being there. And so where you've got these frustrations and things occurring, and these, like you said, it was beautiful, this just happens, and it's, oh, well, look at that. See, that's that joy just coming through, that natural equanimity. It's like, yeah, it's whatever it is, you know. And that's just tremendous. It shows that it's growing in your life.
Yeah, beautiful.
Equanimity, joy, which is rapturous joy, actually. Compassion and loving kindness. It's often said the other way around, but it's better to start with equanimity.
How is loving kindness different from
compassion? Compassion is the recognition.
Let him, say it again. Yeah.
So compassion is the recognition of someone else in a state of suffering, and you recognizing that, you are then moved to loving kindness, which is the expression of that compassion. But you yourself remain always in equanimity.
So one's the head of the dog and the other one's the tail. How are they different? It's still the dog.
One is motivation.
This is Jason brain. I mean,
they're different. They're different.
Sound very, very similar.
They do sound very similar. They do sound very similar, but there's a difference of expression. That's all it is.
It's like wanting to hit someone or hit someone. Or wanting to kiss someone and kiss someone.
Yeah.
What's an action?
And one's compassion, apparently.
One's from the head and one's from the heart.
Yeah.
I've got a question. I've just got a question about resisting and clinging. I read that in the I Am That book. Is that the resisting and clinging, is that stopping the experience of the present moment?
Yes.
So if you don't resist and you don't cling, you can remain in the present moment? Is that what that means?
Yes.
It's not that you could really ever leave the present moment, because present moment is all there is. But see, there is a subtle difference between identifying I am the one that is resisting, or I am presence in which resistance happens.
Okay.
See, when you look at the cat, when I will, like squeeze his tail, he will resist it. And he didn't leave the present moment because he is not identified with a little me that is opposing to the squeezing tail.
But equally, when you're experiencing resistance or attachment, you are already intuitively identifying as a self, a separate self, and that's why this resistance then arises.
I mean more like sensational based as well.
Sensations are just
Like
sensations.
like
they don't resist and they're not attached.
Yeah.
But if you're attached to the sensation, or if you're resisting the sensation, then there's that self that is doing it. It's the imagined self that is resisting or attaching.
Yeah.
It's not just in a state of joy and equanimity, recognizing things coming up and down.
Yeah, and then just letting it.
Letting it be. Oh, I've got a pain. Oh, it is. The end of story.
Also, I'll just add on to that, all good suggestions, but I think there's a resistance in the self when there's an awakening of the knowledge that there is no self, and there's a resistance in the self to letting go of that idea. Yeah, and then it's, oh, hang on, it's like trying to hold on to the identity of self. And in fact, as the realisation dawns, there actually isn't a self, and it's just a play of Leela and a play of, what arises in the moment. There's a kind of, oh, hang on, no, that's, because you're used to having this sense of me, and when that starts to drop, there's it can be initially, wait, your rug's pulled out from underneath you. And that can offer resistance sometimes, yeah.
I'm going back to those 4 words. I actually have more words than that, but well, peace would be another one for me, as is happiness, joy certainly. Yeah, well, we can go into headspace and debate the words, but they're all the same because they are always pre-existing. Just are you aware of them? So peace is here, like even when you have a car crash, right?
Yep.
So you can also be angry and also be blissed off your face at the same time if you can concurrently hold those in the perceptive container, the perceptive mechanism that you are. And that's the trick.
Yes, if you're in a
Who is trying it to do anything?
Well, what is volitional awareness? We need to take it down to the core before you start saying who's doing what.
Yeah, but trying to do something to achieve a state, it can't be done. Is that what you're saying? No. I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
Because it's only because we're still in a deluded state of recognising or thinking about, intuitively thinking about a self, that these attributes are not arising spontaneously and remaining. Right?
Without attribute.
Yeah, without attribute, except attributes arise because there is still a dualistic appearance, and they are part of the state of presence in a dualistic environment.
It's not really dualistic, is it?
It's not really dualistic, except that is the nature of the experience, and in the nature of the experience of the presence in a dualistic situation, that's what comes out, right?
Aren't we going beyond that? Aren't we seeing through
Are you?
that?
If you're beyond it, then you wouldn't see me, I wouldn't see you, and none of us would be here at all.
No.
That's beyond it.
I'm not seeing. It's just no. I don't want to talk
Yeah, Buddhism is quite an amazing thing. It has some absolute jewels, but it has a lot of rubbish, which doesn't come from the Buddha. But in one of the texts it says, all phenomena is self-liberating, period. So all of this nonsense about somebody resisting this or accepting that is all a fiction about and it's a referencing to the self-image me who's on a spiritual path who one day will become enlightened or whatever the story is. But one of the most valuable questions to ask yourself is, without a word, what am I? Naked cognition was there before words were learned. So that's the nature of reality is that which never changes. So we learn language, which we put labels on things and events and everything, and we get caught up in our own narrative. And really, neti is what Nisargadatta points out. I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And if you keep doing that, there's nothing, the mind can't come up with anything, and that's the true nature of your mind. It's clear and empty.
As soon as you start thinking, dualism arises.
Well, who's thinking?
Well, that's right. As soon as thinking
Thinking, but thinking is like clouds in the sky. You can't make the clouds go away. Thinking arises.
No, and there's nothing wrong with dualism in that.
Yeah,
case.
but it's not true. It's not real. It's one reality. One reality.
Yeah.
People talk about my reality, your reality. It's one reality. So the mind divides it up by labelling it, and then we have a problem. But if you do the investigation and look at your own so-called consciousness, and you can't find a self-centre, there's a quietness that comes, which is naked cognition. And you can't add to it, you can't take away from it. It's always here. But the
how
person...
long before the mind starts dividing again? I mean, the primary thought is I am.
Yeah, but
it's I am, you are, he, she, and
that's right. But if you don't understand it, it's only the mind that's dividing it, and it can't really divide anything, then you're caught up in the illusion. But if you understand that it's only the mind that's dividing it, there's no division. It's unity. Yeah. Equanimity.
And really, aren't we talking about this direct pointing compared with a lot of methods which are progressional? You know, I'm this and I will become. Even on a personal level, there's conflict here, so somehow I have to fix it now. I have to fix it. And so, you know, that's what I found is a really big breakthrough, is seeing that in any direction that the mind takes, whether it be a spiritual method, a psychological method, it's always a continuation of time and me. Mm-hmm. And then to see that very clearly, everything collapses and you're left with presence awareness, because the mind cannot interfere in any way. And Bob always has said, once you start modifying, correcting, altering, interfering, and it's very subtle, like what we've been talking about. I think this is all the discussion we really have revolves around this one point. And that is to see that in any direction we take it, even in a subtle way, it's taken me years to kind of see this. But, you know, again, that's just a concept. It's just a concept because it hasn't. That's my story. And see how it sneaks in. But, you know, it's a joke. But in any subtle direction, it's like we're in this cycle of mind without even realizing it. You know, it's so, you know, all words are traps. I could say unconscious, but, you know, we're so caught in this seeming network of thought, like a fish in a fishbowl doesn't realize it's in that situation. And it's almost a story here that don't realize how we think we're what we are. So in any direction, you can't go there, and it just leaves you with the actuality. And that's the major difference I found between this pointing and anything else. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Bob.
Given it in one sentence, there is absolutely no duality in non-duality.
He also have another one.
No duality.
In non-duality. He's got another one, and this was beautifully, you elaborated on it. He says, first of all, the answer is not in the mind. And then he says, whichever way you go, you are going within the mind. The only way out of the mind is full stop. There's no other way out of mind. It's only full stop. Whichever way you look will always be in the mind. And then Bob also says that, when you are on the North Pole, whichever direction you're going to put your step, it will be moving away from the North Pole. Will be going towards the south. Full stop. That's the only way out. And he also says, you want to say something?
When you're at the South Pole, your next step will be north.
That's right.
Where do they meet?
Equilibrium. Back to equilibrium. Equator. Where there is no south, no north. There is no duality. And there was one more I wanted to remind. Also, that was about the teaching of the mind. The answer is not in the mind. You can't find the answer in thinking. That is the only thing that is said to the mind. Everything else is spoken heart to heart, or self to self, or life to life. It's offering the resonation. The only thing that can be understood intellectually, if anyone believes in intellectual understanding, is this. Distrust the mind. The answer is not there. Stop using the tool which is not good for that job.
Yet the mind exists, and we
the
do
analogy
use it.
of using the thorn to get out another thorn, you throw both away.
Yes.
Throw both away. That's
Throw
right.
both away.
But at the same time, there is an apparent mind, life, body, awareness, as Bob says, intelligent forming, energy forming and shaping constantly.
Yeah.
That is not denied or rejected, but it's within the consciousness.
Yes.
It's not separate to the consciousness.
That's right.
It's the appearance. And so to me, that brings, liberation.
Yes.
Oh, man, just drop it. It's liberation. It's all good. It's all good.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the ride. Yeah.
Just don't let it have you. Sorry.
What's been happening here, it feels like the understanding over the last couple of months is somehow sinking down more into the chest, but the so-called clarity or whatever is not, like, I don't have any words to explain somehow the understanding that feels to be deepening, other than the joy that is there. And when you talk about Kat and Bob, like one essence experiencing itself as everything, and someone said the other week, I heard that it described as, whatever this is consciousness experiencing itself as the world. And that something about that phrasing, it was just like, oh, everything is me, is that. And there's love there. It's like when that recognition of everything being it or that appears to be what love is. Like previously I've, experienced love in a person, and that's that kind of recognition almost of yourself in another. But in that moment of seeing everything as that, there's like love without object. And it's, it just sits in the chest, and it's a beautiful recognition. So, thank you, and thank you, everyone. Yeah.
So lovely. The joy. Yes, it was just in the morning, connect with that loving presence, and before you go to sleep, connect with that loving presence.
To me, and I always see this every time I'm here, to me the biggest expression of presence I typically see in this room is when you, Kat, are looking at Bob with just the love that gushes out of your eyes, and I saw it just before.
That's just too easy.
I know, and it's blatantly obvious every time I've been in the room and you look at him.
Thank you.
Nothing proves that I'm not that. Nothing has the power to. No thing has the power to prove anything about me. That's an interesting thing, isn't it, to contemplate? Yeah. Where does that lead us? Nowhere. But nowhere's all right. Nowhere's good. Exactly. Just here, now. Now is always
here.
this conscious, this beautiful livingness now, isn't it?
No means now here, nowhere. Now where, if you actually spell it and you divide the word in just one letter ahead, now here.
And thanks to everyone for your wonderful animated contribution today. It was good. Yeah.
And thank you.
More and more we can allow these different points of view without saying, "Oh, you're a bloody idiot" or something. Well, you can say that as well if you want to. But,
everything's accepted.
But, it's all good. It's all good.
As long as there is nobody to take it on board.
As soon as I open my mouth, it's going to be dualistic anyway, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we open our mouths, we're fucked.
Say that on YouTube.
Yep. Do you want to say something? No?
I've given the computer a name for those who get frustrated with their computers. I don't know if you've heard it before, but I call mine Fred.
Which is short for what?
Fucking ridiculous electronic device.
Now we've got to, at least we've got a name to label it.
An identity.
How beautiful labeling is, isn't it? What a fantastic capacity. As many other capacities that the mind have, they absolutely, when you're free, when you play with them, you just see the beautiful dance of Maya. They're exquisite, they're gorgeous, including all those, the labels, positive, negative, including meaning making, storytelling. Every situation you are in, the mind will offer you a story.
Absolutely.
If you had a good breakfast, or if it's a sunny day, the story may be positive. 5 minutes later, something may happen, or you can get indigestion, and the story will change radically, including everyone in it, including people's relationship with you, to you, including your self-esteem. All those stories, when you actually see the bigger picture of incredible creativity, of that capacity to imagine, is mind-blowing.
Yeah,
but of course, the moment you believe one or the other, you're fucked. Because even if you believe you are wonderful, and the world is wonderful, and everyone is loving, then you're going to strive to keep it this way.
How long will that one last?
Exactly. And you're going to be afraid that this is going to end, or somebody will take it away, or that you're wrong. Anything, like Bob says, if you like something, you don't want it to go. And the truth of that magnificent appearance called Maya is that everything is impermanent. Everything will change sooner or later, because it's not real, it's illusion. It's never going to last. And if you don't like something, you push it away. And it will change whether you push it or not. It may change to worse. But being free from being that space like awareness, realizing that you are that space. You don't have to try to be it. You just realize that you are that space. And as that space, that intelligence, that life, the world appears within you. Of course it isn't separate. Everything that appears in that field of awareness appears in you.
Yeah.
So every other people, every other galaxies, every other countries, anything, past, future, space, all of it appears within the field of awareness. It is inside you. You contain all the world, all the worlds, everything that's conceivable.
Even you are within that.
Absolutely. The appearance of you, the image of you that you might have as separate entity is also just an appearance in the consciousness, in the field of consciousness.
I'll meet you there.
Beyond ideas of right doing and the wrong doing. Yeah, beyond the ideas, including ideas. Ideas are so included. But being free from ideas and not suffering because of the ideas. What a freedom. That's the only freedom. The only freedom there is. It's a freedom from believing the ideas. And ideas can be absolutely loved as another magnificent expression of that one life essence. Yeah. Love and compassion and equanimity, any ideas, any feelings, any emotions, any expressions. Expressions of good stories, bad people, microbes, viruses, diseases, death, famine, all of it. From life's perspective, it's nothing good or bad, nothing right or wrong. And in the human perspective included, having a heartbreak because someone is torturing an animal, or having a feeling of disappointment because the loved one left you. All those are just such a gorgeous, colorful mandala of life, constantly changing like a kaleidoscopic changing. But the stillness, the space that you are, that field of consciousness that you are, that is prerequisite for all that change, for all that incredible richness of every moment, of that constant present moment. Is that what is necessary? Is that what matters? That's the truth, the reality. And from that perspective, even the illusion is made of that same substance of reality. The substance of reality fluctuates and dances like the particle of light. In the essence, Bob has that beautiful one-liner. In the essence, it is real. Everything is real in its essence, but not in how it appears. Not in how it appears. When it appears as an object, as a separate thing, separate thought, separate image, that's Maya. It's real in the essence, but not how it appears. Like the Satchitananda, real in essence, being consciousness bliss, but not how it appears, Namarupa, not in the name and form.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
The end.
And it goes on and on.
We have Tazi here say awareness naturally and spontaneously recognizes what it is not. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And that's it, really, for the comments, I think.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
It's lovely chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah.